grab yourself a cold drink, maybe a little popcorn, because the biggest XRP signal we've seen in years, it just flashed. I'm talking whales opening seven-figure longs. Politicians going public with crypto support. The Fed about to unleash a $1.5 trillion money wave, and ETFs piling in to XRP exposure quietly in the background, all as the government stays shut down. This isn't hopium. It is all happening right now. We're going to break down exactly why XRP is primed for the most explosive move since 2017, how institutional money is positioning ahead of the crowd, and the one chart that confirms the official XRP moon signal is finally live. So buckle up, because if you ever doubted whether XRP could actually melt faces again, this video right here, this is your wake-up call. Let's dive in. We see it right behind me. I'm going to blow it up. A hyper liquid whale. He just opened a massive $1 million XRP long position with a 10x leverage at $2.40. That's a 10 million directional bet that XRP is about to rip. Now look, whales don't trade like retail. They front run narratives. They know liquidity unlocks before the next headlines hit. So when you see a 1 million 10x long opened right before a major macro or regulatory shift, it's not random. That is smart money calling for the next leg up. And think about it. XRP has been consolidating forever while Bitcoin and Solana took the spotlight. But the moment derivatives volume starts rising again for XRP, that is historically, that's been the signal before major rallies. This whale's position is the first domino. Stay with me, because this connects directly to what Ripple's CEO revealed about regulations and global adoption. We get right here. Brad Garlinghouse, remember this? When he stood on stage at the World Economic Forum and he looked the entire global financial elite in the eye and he said, and I quote, "The vast majority of players in crypto space, they want to be good actors." Now, that's not just PR talk. That is Ripple saying, we're ready for the next phase. We're ready for full regulatory cooperation. How many other companies involved in crypto and blockchains can say this? Listen to this.
I do think, we do work with law enforcement at Ripple, and we do file suspicious activity reports. And, again, we're only working with regulated endpoints, so we're somewhat unique. And I will say, I agree with you that the origins of crypto were absolutely anti-government, anti-bank. Yeah. The origins of these technologies and how these technologies can be used can be very, very different. And as time goes by, I think we spend less time talking about Mt. Gox and Silk Road and more time talking about these are real enterprise scaled use cases where it's not an experiment. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars going through Ripple's technology platform.
Days of the internet as well.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. Well, although there was a much louder, higher decibel level called in maybe the 90s when people were, I think, more intimidated by how these technologies are being used. And I think we're seeing that play out in the world of blockchain as well. I thought it was interesting you described the UAE regulatory as light touch.
Said it was described as light touch.
Oh, described as light touch, all right. I actually give huge credit to the UAE.
Do you have a VARA license?
No, we do not. Although we might, I don't know the exact answer to that, but we do not currently. The point I would make, though, is...
You do not.
Thank you. The point I would make, though, is the UAE has done the work to codify what the regulations are. I think the challenge, and we discussed this before we got up here, I think the vast majority of players in the crypto space want to be good actors. But I think we have to be clear about what that means. And I think one of the challenges is, and I very much agreed with something the commissioner said, we talk about regulating crypto. I think we should, that's an abstract thing to say from my point of view. We need to regulate the activity. What is it that we're doing? So Ripple is in the business around cross-border payments. Our customers are banks. Our customers are regulated institutions. You can't have a non-KYC, know your customer transaction.
Look, Ripple's strategy has always been compliance first and adoption second. And now with frameworks finally rolling out across Europe, the UK, and soon the US, XRP is positioned as the compliant liquidity bridge every institution needs. So when the CEO of Ripple is literally on stage and he's in the same room as these central bankers talking about the XRP ledger, that's not an altcoin flex. That's integration that is in motion today. And speaking of political leaders, suddenly, look who's flipping bullish on crypto again. I don't think he ever left, to be honest with you. He was always bullish. He went from bear to bull. But President Trump, he dropped the truth bomb. And he said, and I quote, "Bitcoin is money, yet you have to pay capital gains tax if you use it to buy a coffee." He says it really shouldn't be taxed, and he agrees. That's massive because this isn't just about Bitcoin. Remember, they say Bitcoin because that's what people understand. This is about setting precedent here. If Bitcoin gets treated as money, then XRP, the most efficient payment settlement asset on the planet, it becomes a no-brainer for cross-border money movement. The moment US leadership starts redefining crypto as money instead of property, it changes everything. And if the US wants to stay competitive here in a 7 trillion crypto economy that is coming, XRP will be one of the first assets to benefit. And let's talk about that 7 trillion, folks. But as always, get your strategy call booked. Folks, an investment in yourself is the best investment you can make. These calls are all structured towards you. There is no set plan. Every call I take, it is completely different. If you're looking for tax strategy, if you are looking to be a lender, if you are looking for OTC, I will point you in all the right directions and I will educate you on what that actually means. A lot of people want to talk about lending their XRP, but they don't understand what that means or where to go. That's what these calls are built for, folks. It's me and you, just like this. We're on a camera, we're talking one-on-one. And let's talk about it because Chartner put it out. 7 trillion in total crypto market cap this cycle. And the probability, it's higher than ever. That's more than double 2021's peak. They're calling for anywhere from 3 to 6 rate cuts to hit this cycle. Liquidity is going to flow. But here's the kicker. Because XRP's current dominance, it's only a fraction of that. But with ETF inflows, new regulations, and global sentiment use case actually kicking in, that number is going to skyrocket. If we see $7 trillion in crypto, your double-digit XRP that we've all been dreaming about, that isn't fantasy. That is just simple math at that point. Because when liquidity flows and real-world utilities start scaling, XRP doesn't just move in cents. It's going to move in multiples, and it's going to fly. And let's talk about the UK and what they're doing, all right? We're talking about a shift over there and XRP's advantage. If you watched the video I put out before this, we talked about Ripple getting their license over in the EU. Well, we get this breaking news over from London. Nigel Farage, he just announced that the UK will take crypto seriously now and that his party now accepts crypto donations. That's great. It's even more bullish, right? Who remembers earlier this year when a UK parliament member literally praised XRP over Bitcoin, calling it a pre-mined beast with zero energy that uses instant settlement? That's the narrative shift right there. Efficient, sustainability, and real utility, folks. While most coins out there are just chasing hype and they're not going to survive the bear market that is coming. They won't make it, a lot of these altcoins. XRP is busy being recognized at government levels as a real financial tool. And speaking of governments, the US is suddenly lining up to follow. Remember this? I played this for you last episode. Brian Armstrong, CNBC, and he confirmed that there is a strong bipartisan support to pass Bitcoin and crypto's market structure bill within the next couple of weeks. This means one thing. Regulatory clarity is coming. You want to talk about your next catalyst up? Not only is it going to be regulatory clarity, it's going to be ETFs, it's going to be utility, and it's going to be your BlackRock and Goldman Sachs cheerleading and marketing this thing to all of their $1 million clients. Think about that. All your pension funds, all your endowments, all your Fortune 500 treasuries, they've been waiting for this exact moment. And XRP has the legal clarity. It has the real world partnership. Think about it. You just got to let it all sink in. It's crazy. And the narrative and the FUD on social media behind what Ripple's doing in XRP, the biggest one, Chris Larson just dumped on everyone. They didn't even bother to do a second of research. He told you, he tweeted out that he was moving his XRP. And they call themselves news websites, news outlets. It's wild, everyone. And then the Fed, talk about 7 trillion in crypto. Well, the Federal Reserve, they're going to print 1.5 trillion after October and November's rate cuts. That liquidity doesn't just sit in banks. It flows, and it flows into risk assets, which crypto falls in. That is your new risk on engine. Every single major bull run in crypto has followed a Fed liquidity surge. 2020, QE, Bitcoin 10x. 2024, QE 2.0, XRP's time. It's that simple. We should say 2025, 2026, but technically we started in November of 2024 when we were 50 cents and we made that 7x from there. This cycle, how about that? We'll call it what it is. This cycle, folks. And if you're not a part of the newsletter, now's the time. Links, both links are down below. First newsletter, or second, I believe we're on number 2 now. It is coming out. Smoke put this out. Bitcoin whales, they are dumping coins into BlackRock's ETF supply. Not because they're bearish, but because they are locking in profits through institutional wrappers. This is the smartest exit liquidity transfer in history. But here's where it gets wild, because once Bitcoin stabilizes, that institutional capital will start diversifying into higher yield compliant assets. And you guessed it, it's XRP. And the evidence, it is already there, because we see Vanguard's Information Technology Index Fund ETF. It just quietly bought $11.2 million worth of Bitcoin through MSTR. That's an indirect Bitcoin play, but it shows that they are opening the door to crypto exposure. And here's the kicker, because this same institutional pipeline that is approving Bitcoin ETFs, it is already preparing for XRP derivatives and ETFs. And we got confirmation of it. There you go. The CME Group, the world's largest derivatives exchange, they just confirmed that XRP's futures launched early this year, and now they are driving record crypto trading volumes. In fact, CME's overall crypto volume is up over 200% year over year, boosted heavily by XRP and Solana contracts. Not Bitcoin and Ethereum, XRP and Solana. This isn't retail speculation. This is institutional adoption. When you see derivatives volume explode, that's where bull markets begin. CME, Vanguard, BlackRock, they're all playing the exact same game. And XRP, it's officially in the rotation. So let's zoom out here for a second. Whales are going long. Regulations are aligning. The Fed, they're printing. ETFs, they're accumulating. And XRP futures are surging. Everything, and I mean absolutely freaking everything, is lining up for XRP's breakout moment. This isn't 2018. This isn't speculation anymore. This is convergence of liquidity, regulations, and institutional adoption. And XRP is at the front and center of all of it. If you've been waiting for a clear signal, this is it. The XRP moon signal is officially confirmed. And if you're still here, you know what to do, folks. Smash that like button, drop your XRP predictions for me below, and hit subscribe, because what's coming next, it might just rewrite crypto history.